Hey everybody, this is CJ Sharkey, and I wanted to do a little bit of a video review, basically going over everything that I worked from beginning to end when it came to my Portal 2 level, known as Think Across, for the Level Game Design Jam, number 2 specifically, that was hosted by Steve Lee. So first of all, this was a level design jam where it was a month long. And the main goal is to get something short but also fully playable. So it has to be a level that has to be able to be completed from beginning to end. And there was also two optional themes that you could have picked for the level design jam, and those two were verticality and non-violence. So I went ahead and went towards the verticality theme, where there's a lot of high grounds, heights, and lots of stuff like that with like the detail and when the player looks up. And so we're gonna go in through the process where from beginning to end and how I started designing this basically this test chamber for the level design jam. So starting off, I went through because I did a bunch of YouTube videos and tutorials and like how to make Portal 2 level, and one of the things I wanted to do was work inside the Portal 2 level editor. And as you can see, Portal 2 actually has their own in-game test chamber builder, where you can just go ahead and just drag something in from like a button and have things like the cube drop that players can go into, and then you can like connect stuff to the door. And so I wanted to work and design a level by doing this. And so I went through this same exact template as you can see here. There's nothing where you just start dragging stuff in. You start dragging panels, like you drag in like this laser connector and then like a laser. And I started just dragging stuff in and connecting it and just tweaking everything about it. And so um then it finally got to me where I looked up some info about, well, if I make something in here, is it able to be imported to Source Hammer? And so I looked it up, and it's definitely possible. It was one of the things that people, not only was it just myself asking the question, and so that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to start off making a puzzle with the puzzle editor and exporting it to the Source Engine's level editor known as Hammer. And um, so I started my playing around just like you see here, just dragging stuff in, buttons, going in and just playing. And then I finally got to use like, okay, this is just entity scripting 101. There's a lot of entity scripting here. Connect this button to that button, etc., etc. And so there was this time where I was ready to start designing my official level, and I'll show you here now. So we go to create here, and so this is my Think Across level that was developed before the final thing, and this is everything that you see here from the beginning door, which is over here, to the very end with the door, which is over there. And so first of all, I wanted to make something short, playable, but also kind of, I really want people to think, which is the main thing, is use the portal mechanic. And one of the things I wanted to do was make these really referencing looking up, or looking at the objective by looking up, which is the main goal, which is the verticality theme, to be vertical. And so starting off, I wanted to do some laser with the laser cube. And so you can see this laser cube, what it'll do, it'll reflect the laser, and your goal is to get it to this laser, and then it'll open up like this door here. Inside this doorway, if you can't see, I'll go ahead. If you can't see in the doorway, that this doorway behind it actually has a portal. So the main goal of this is to get this button. There's a button in here. This button will, as you can see, this blue line right here will open up the stairs, and you can go upstairs. And so I thought at the beginning I wanted to do something basic with a laser, and there's actually a really good source of feedback before I actually did the first puzzle. there's a good source of feedback where if you're going to introduce a puzzle, you need to show us something that introduces it, like what we need for that puzzle. So I was like, that was actually a really good source of feedback. So originally, the cube, as you can see here, is right in front of the player. It drops in front of the player. Player's like, oh, it's a cube. What does it do? What am I doing here? So I actually, in the final design, I actually revamped it and moved it over here on top of the laser. So when the player enters the level, the cube will drop, and the cube will drop on top of a laser. Um, and so I'll go ahead and show you that right now. And so this is one of the things I did for every single puzzle for this map was I implemented something to guide the player or tell the player like, okay, here's your tool. What are you gonna do with this tool? I'll show you what you do with this tool. And it kind of it was more friendlier towards a beginner player base, players who haven't really played Portal 2, and they see that this cube just dropped on top of this laser, but it's like shooting the laser and reflecting it. So it kind of gives up like, okay, I'm gonna be using that cube. There's two lasers here. Why not? So that was one of the things that I wanted to do. If you look here, there it is. It just like the laser just went into the ground. So this immediately gave a thought to the player that they're going to be using this cube, and it leads to a bit with the beginning players of Portal 2. And so I did that with pretty much every single level. And so, as you can see here, I did the exact same thing with, I have to go through the final level. So I started blocking out stuff like that. So I've actually used a improved puzzle editor. So there's actually a mod. It's called B2, and so this mod improves the level editor, which adds like a couple of the new items. As you can see, there's new items like a auto portal. Adds like trigger blocks. So like this is a trigger. So if you want to, as soon as the player runs into something, it'll connect. Like you can see, there's a connection here. It adds things like that. That adds a little bit of the scripting experience. And so when you put it in, and if the player runs through here, this panel will flip like 180 degrees. And so, in terms of the starting thing for the players, I'm actually going to go out here to the hammer editor. And I'll go talk a little bit about this as well. So let me go ahead and just make the perspective bigger. Here we go. So this is the my level inside Hammer. This is what the final aspect looks like. You can see there's a lot of done of retexturing. I retextured some of the blocks here. Gave them different textures, and then I gave like this giant cracked wall overlook. Now, this is where I moved like the cube over the lasers. As you can see, these are the laser machines that you saw before. This is everything inside the Hammer level editor. This is my level that I exported and imported to Hammer. And so, and I want to talk a little bit more about that, adding hints or players. So, in parts of the level, what you could do here is I'll go ahead and go back and play. Let me go back, go to game view, and we'll just go ahead and turn on cheats. So this is the difference from when I was developing it. So the main goal here of this objective is you want to put a portal over here and a portal over here. And you press this button and those panels will flip, right? And so you're supposed to, the designer of this puzzle is the player is supposed to put a portal here, and walk across, right? So we'll do that again. I'll show you guys. So you put a portal here, press E, put a portal here, and go out, right? And so this is what happens. And you achieve the next part of the puzzle, right? So I wanted to give players the hint by just implementing like a little art asset, level art, of a broken bridge. So down below you have like this pile where this bridge is completely broken, falling apart, bunch of metal pieces everywhere. And then you have these bridges, like this one is like all destroyed, and it's like, man, I really could have used these bridges. And there's like the hole behind them. And then when you press that button, this panel will flip open. This panel will flip back open, right? And this bridge gives that visual symbol like, I'm gonna finish building this bridge by using what we saw here by using this bridge. So this bridge, it gives that visual like detail where it's like that I wanted to tell the player, give them a guide, like, okay, there's two bridges here. They're completely broke, but you could still use that one bridge if you use the Portal 2 bridge and finish and fix the bridge and get across to progress to the next part of the level. And so, one of the things in terms of Portal 2 and the level design was don't make puzzles progressively harder in one test chamber. And by what I mean by that is when you start off with, let's say, a very confusing puzzle or one that takes a long time, the puzzles that come after that should not make the players think too hard. If you make the players think a really long time and do a difficult puzzle after difficult puzzle after difficult puzzle, the players will get too overstressed and it'll be too considered really difficult. Now, if you kind of want to fit it to most of the player base, and there is a lot of people who like levels where it's like hard, 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 hard. But for this, I want to make something playable because there's multiple people from all player experiences for this level design jam, as well as generally everybody, because you can play this right now as well. And so I wanted to just offer these visual hints when I open this in the Hammer level editor, and as you can see, it's way different. Another one too I added these turrets here, and these are crushers, so their goal is to just smash and crush stuff. And so I wanted to add these crushers here. Let's go to them. Let's actually go look at them. So this is a crusher part that you see here, right? And so when you press this button, yes, they crush, and that's their job. So I wanted to add another guide here where, well, there's turrets here. These, they're friendly turrets, and they'll talk, and they'll be like, "Are you still here?" So I wanted to add these basically in the middle of the crushers. And when you press the button, unfortunately, these turrets get crushed. And not because it just, maybe it might be seem fun or it's just disappointing. This is actually a hint and a guide to tell the players, hey, you can get crushed by these. And there's this turret right here who is standing between the crushers. I don't know if you can see it, so you could actually, I'll show you it in game. Oh, I actually died. Oh. So I'll actually show you. So the main point of this puzzle is you go here. Boop. Go. And you stand between the crushers. So there's actually a turret standing right here. And I'll show you. So it's actually right here. This is the turret. He doesn't get crushed. But why? Why isn't he getting crushed? He's obviously in the chamber. Well, it's a visual. I wanted to give a visual tip and guide to say, hey, you need to stand between these chambers. And the main goal of the puzzle is when you go through between the chambers, and I'll show you guys here right now. There we go. Boop. Then we'll go to the next one. And then if you look over here, there's a portal spot. It's a white tile. Right? You have a white tile over there. You survive the crushers, and, well, you can go to the next spot of the level. Bam! You're back here again. And so I wanted to, when I read that feedback about when you give us a puzzle and there's a tool or there's a button or there's anything, or if there's like a thing that could kill the player, show it to them. Show them their obstacle and what could stop them from progressing through the level. And so whether it be something that kills them, whether it's a tool that they use, show it to them. Give them a visual clarity of, hey, this does this, so now it's time for you to figure it out. And I thought that was absolutely phenomenal, and I put that with that feedback, I put that in every single puzzle for Think Across. And so you have the destroyed bridge, right? You have this laser that leads all the way down. You have the points all the way down here. It's phenomenal. And so I also wanted to do a little bit of level art, as I mentioned. And so some of the level art I wanted to do was I wanted an overgrown non-used facility that's been there a while. Cracked walls, as you can see, these walls have giant cracks in them. This one's completely like broke. Probably the bridge script across of it, cracked it, broke it, right? Tiles. This is one of the most fun things I've built, was making these tiles. And you have like the ceiling, you have like the outside skybox where you can see the light coming from. You have some like tiles that are like kind of busted up here. It was really fun, and I wanted to also implement this with some of the gameplay visual hint, like the visualizers, like the bridge, which is completely broke. You have a bunch of tiles here, and then you have like this turret, and so that was one of the things I wanted to do, um, in terms of keeping that feedback. And so, and all the art, you have like pretty much all the destruction here. Um, you got leaves hanging up from the edge. And it was just a really fun project to do. And so, at the first, I worked on this for a few days, and doing this for a few days reminded me how much of these tools and the skills that for scripting and visual scripting and entity scripting is still used to this day. And I actually improved a lot of mine and getting a refresher on how I like to think about things, based off of feedback, and also doing reviews, and also just my scripting experience and level design experience, where I wanted to make sure players know where they were at, what they were doing, and doing all things from literally, as you can see, from the block out, which is only just the puzzles. There's really not a lot of art here, and making sure I communicate to the player what the obstacle, what the puzzle is. And it was something, as a level designer and doing this project, it was really important to not tell them the answer to the puzzle as really strict as possible, but to give them a sense of direction, like, hey, give them a little tip and a hint, through a really unique way, rather than just saying, hey, go here. Give something that's more fun, like either if it's something falling or something destroying. It was really something I wanted to do because it fits to all player experiences, and especially with Portal 2, there's a lot of Portal 2 moments where GLaDOS will smash something, and she'll say, "Hey, don't get smashed," and that's all she says for the entire level. But the player has something in their mind saying, "Hey, don't get smashed, don't get smashed, don't get smashed." So really, I took that same incentive here, but I did it with multiple puzzles. Hey, don't get smashed. Hey, you could fix this bridge. Hey, you could use this laser cube, and that was it. Like, there was no more detail after that. So, um, yeah, and everything from the blockout, as you can see from the puzzle editor, everything from here that you see, went through strictly through design, and lots of the thinking process of, will this be a fun puzzle? Will this be boring? Is putting a cube on a button, just grabbing a cube, dropping it on a button, boring? And I thought things like that, where, well, let's make it two cubes, but let's add lasers involved with it. And then this one, well, we have crushers. Well, don't get crushed, but let's add a vertical area, where the player has to look up and place a portal up top before the portal wall comes in. And so I did these little twists where I wanted to make it really fun and unique, and add something rather than just grabbing a box, placing it on a button, and just like most of Portal 2's level design, that is what I wanted to achieve. And so far for the game jam, I've got a lot of great feedback for the level. I even did some changes recently where some of the buttons were really hard to see what they did. So I did a lot of visual narratives. Like, as you can see here, there's like symbols. So like this button on the top right here, there's symbols to it, so players can look at, like, okay, where's X? Let's see, right? X is over here. Um, and it kind of gave that visual narrative and cue for players to actually find out what the button does. And yeah, and I also added a little Easter egg. Everybody knows about the Portal 2 Love Cube. It is there in the room by itself. Fortunately, you can't bring it with you because that's how GLaDOS is. But I wanted to add a little button where you can enjoy yourself after you made it to the end, by basically having that famous companion cube. And yeah, researching and a lot of the days for the puzzle, it took a lot of note writing. So I actually have here a piece of paper determining like, well, what puzzles do I not want? And so some of the puzzles I didn't want were cube button only. I didn't want cube button for one progressive. I didn't really want a lot of these bridges, what they call these, like, you basically fly through them. And so they're like hover bridges, and I'll go ahead and try to show. Let me show it to you guys. Go ahead and show you guys what I mean. So, I had some rules and limitations. These things right here. I didn't want to do a lot of these. The theme I was going for was verticality, and so, um, I knew a lot of people were going to use these because you can like place it here, and then shoot one here, and you can like fly up, and you can like go across, just climb up with these. And I didn't really want to do that. I wanted to do more based on like the four corners. So you have this corner, you have this corner, and then this corner. I wanted to do it where you had to look across each corner and have an idea of what is above you on these corners, what's below you on these corners. And like for here, the main resolution of this portal is to look from this corner right here, to look down at this wall, and to bring the eyes to look across, right? Think across, which is the name of the level, where, okay, I'm on top of this platform. Where do I gotta go? What does this button do? I look across, right? Look down, look under, look to your left. And that was one of the verticality things I wanted to design and implement in terms of the level design implementation of like the land, the floor, the walls, the height. And um I think I did a really good job and nailed it, because everybody, um from the feedback, really likes the name. And to a lot of them, it made a lot of sense to look across from what you were doing. Even if you were below, you were like, huh, well, yeah, I can see that. I'm looking. And is a really fun thing to do. And it really, like I said, it really did improve my skill in level design in all terms, from this block out to what you see here, which has all the looks, all the triggers, all the entity scripting, and obviously the level art. And thanks to feedback, it was really something to iterate on when it comes to having a tool or showing players what the challenge is. And there's a lot of games that do it as well, like Mario. Um, exactly, like the very first Mario with the Goomba the very first Goomba that runs after you and hits you, but you jump on top of it and stomp it. It tells you you threw the obstacle immediately right there. Like, that's how you defeat enemies. Um, in Super Mario Bros. And so that was still that philosophy. I really like using it to this day, where just showing something to the player in level design and tell them, hey, you're going to use this, or hey, this is what happens, or hey, don't be this turret that got smashed. And yeah, that was one of the really fun things. And doing this project was really awesome. So I had a really fun time with it. And I really think it improved in terms of going back to the Hammer engine, or Hammer level editor, and doing all this crazy debugging and scripting, was challenging. Took me a whole night, but it was fun. It was just a little side project. And yeah, absolutely, it was one. I really wanted to thank Steve Lee for hosting this level design jam, because I recently just got off from working for Straymon Bay on the Anacrusis doing level design there. And so coming back to Hammer after working with Unreal Engine, really, really impressed myself as how versatile I am with different editors, and using keeping up to date with philosophies for back then, and philosophies that are used today. And um, and doing level design from block out to the final iteration, was just extremely fun. So, and yeah, I want to thank you guys so much for coming out to watch Think Across. And I can't wait to do more. I am going to be doing more. I'm actually working on a new project as of right now. I want to do this little video to explain the process and the little design for anybody interested or want to watch it. It's probably not the best commentary. Feedback would be great. And any feedback for the level would be amazing. I am totally down to editing. The level design jam doesn't end until I think November 15th. I think we're almost there, halfway through the level design jam. And yeah, it was really awesome. It was really fun coming back to Portal 2. And yeah, but thank you guys so much for watching. And yeah, I'm CJ Sharkey. I am a level and game designer. I mostly specialize in level design. But yeah, thank you guys so much for coming out to this little behind the scenes or little chit chat about my level and where I went with it. So thank you guys so much.